Coming up in the news, a traffic accident claiming the life of a wife and mother. Also, the country's top maritime agency investing millions of dollars in the Grand Bahama economy. And the Grand Bahama Health Services in preparation mode this hurricane season. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Shashina Wolf-Parkinson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news tonight, a two-car collision in East Lucaya yesterday has claimed the life of an adult female and has sent 3 persons to hospital. The tragic accident creating concern once again for police, as they say speed was indeed a factor in the deadly crash. Jay Philippe has more.
A fatal crash taking place on Manchester and Windermere Drive near Barbary Beach shortly before 6 p.m. Monday. The female driver of the white Daihatsu and her 2 children were involved in a head-on collision with a green Ford Fusion, which also was driven by a female. The driver of the white Daihatsu vehicle died at the scene. She has since been identified as Siobhan Roberts, an employee of the Road Traffic Department. Reports say she was on her way home from work when this mishap took place. Officer in charge of the Traffic Division for Grand Bahama, Superintendent Jeremy Henfield, picks up the story.
Once the police would have arrived at the scene, initial investigation would lead us to 2 vehicles. Both were traveling in the opposite direction, and we had a head-on collision. As a result of that, we had 1 female occupant, the driver of one of those vehicles, was injured and would have succumbed to her injuries at the scene. Right now, we're in the initial stages of this investigation, but we can most certainly tell you that speed would have played a factor in this accident.
Robert's 2 children sustained injuries, and the driver of the Ford Fusion also sustained injuries and were all taken to the hospital. Police say speed was a factor in this fatal accident. Superintendent Henfield is appealing to the motoring public to exercise caution on the streets.
There's no need to speed. We ask that you pay attention to what's going on around you. If you're not sure of the speed limit on the road, then by law it says that if there's no sign posted, you should be doing 30 miles an hour.
Henfield says traffic police will be continuing investigations in this latest fatality. Henfield also says they will continue to do their best to ensure that motorists are adhering to the rules of the road.
As you know, from January to now, we have been doing just speed checks and speed checks after speed checks. And so that is one of the initiatives that we took to ensure that the public adhere to the speed limit of the road and to abide by the rules of the road. That's simply as all we ask, that you abide by the rules of the road. So unfortunately, today we would have lost a mother, a wife, sister. But again, we want to say to Grand Bahama, the motoring public in Grand Bahama, drive with caution and care.
I'm Jay Philippe, ZNS Network News.
Thanks, Jay. While the 2 children injured in yesterday's accident are students of Sunland Baptist Academy, the school issuing a statement this afternoon offering condolences to the Roberts family on the tragic death of Siobhan Roberts, recalling that she was a long-standing parent of the school who was always pleasant and smiling. The school also confirming that the injured male student has since been released from the hospital and is recovering, while the other, a female, is still hospitalized in stable condition. Member of Parliament for Central and South Abaco James Albury contributing to the 2021-2022 budget debate in the House of Assembly on Monday afternoon. The Abaco MP focusing on progress as well as achievements made on the island of Abaco since Hurricane Dorian, as well as the way forward for that northern island. Albury also implored the government to continue to rebuild Abaco. Italia Hall reports.
Member of Parliament for Central and South Abaco James Albury making his final contribution to the budget debates. The MP making it clear that he supports the government and the financial year budget. Albury noting that after several temporary fixes, he is pleased that the Dune Road stabilization project is complete. Albury also providing an update on power supply.
That Bahamas Power and Light has restored the majority of areas in Abaco post-hurricane as of now. With new infrastructure and generation capacity, Abaco is once again well on its way to having a reliable power source. Mr. Speaker, I know that water supply has been an especially challenging issue for my constituents, particularly in the Marsh Harbor area. I must ask for my constituents' continued patience as we go through the growing pains of repairing and expanding our community's water capacity and distribution.
And he says the new $1.5 million Imperial gallon tank in Marsh Harbor is nearing completion.
This storage tank, Mr. Speaker, is significantly larger than the existing storage tanks, which were badly damaged in Hurricane Dorian. The new pumping station and well fields will be solar powered, Mr. Speaker, signifying a transformative investment in sustainable and renewable power.
The Abaco MP commending the Minister of Finance and his team for constructing and producing a budget in what he calls a challenging economic environment as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. But he says while the Special Economy Recovery Zone order will be extended until the end of December 2021, additional time beyond December 2021 is needed for residents in Abaco.
The private sector in Abaco is perfectly capable and willing to rebuild. But we must, as an administration, make it as painless and as efficient as possible to encourage and spur Abaco's future growth and development. Further to encouraging development, Mr. Speaker, in this budget, Bahamian citizens in Abaco will benefit from tax-free real estate transactions on properties valued under $250,000. Non-citizens will also benefit from a reduced tax rate on transactions within this same price bracket.
Albury stating that those tax exemptions will bring relief to the island and will make it easier for Abaconians to purchase homes and properties, as proper housing remains a serious issue on the Northern Island. The Central and South Abaco MP, who started his political career in 2017, will not be seeking re-election in the next general election. Albury says Abaco will remain forever interwoven in his heart and thanks every constituent for the opportunity to serve them.
I fear that no matter what words I used, I'll never be able to properly convey just how honored I am to have served as their representative. I say to all members through you, Mr. Speaker, it is essential to our survival as a nation that Abaco be properly cared for. Abaco still needs time to heal. It will need your continuing support in the forms of incentives and concessions to facilitate its full recovery.
Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
In other news, the construction of a new multi-million-dollar agency nearing completion. Elnett Maritime, the top maritime agency in the Bahamas, expressing confidence in the Grand Bahama community through a new facility and expansion of its operations. Tonight, we speak with the CEO of the company, who shares their journey of completing the building despite facing Hurricane Dorian and the global pandemic. It is an investment of $2.8 million. The newly constructed state-of-the-art building will be the new home of Elnett Maritime, which is the top maritime agency in the Bahamas. In just a few weeks, Ellie Hepburn, CEO, says the new building will facilitate the company's operations as well as future projects.
I was able to acquire the property from the Grand Bahama Port Authority, and after purchasing the property, I started looking at the options to build, either finance or come out of pocket. After about a month or so of deciding and speaking with my team, we made the decision to go through First Caribbean Bank and finance the building, which in following thereafter we broke ground, and we've been going ever since. We've had our challenges. The first challenge was after we had confirmed the loan from First Caribbean Bank, they just went quiet on us. So after giving them about a month or so when they still were quiet, we decided, okay, we spoke with Spartan Contractors, Deshaun Smith, a really good friend of mine since high school. And we said, okay, we'll just do it out of our pocket.
The building's theme color is red and blue. Red, he says, signifying the blood of Jesus, and the blue, the maritime industry. The challenges also included Hurricane Dorian, which he says did not have a significant impact on the building, followed by the pandemic.
Fortunately for us, though, our industry wasn't affected by the lockdown. As a matter of fact, we saw a great increase in activity, especially offshore vessels coming to lay berth while waiting for the pandemic to, subside and whatnot. And construction wasn't hindered too much, but we had a problem in terms of inflation.
But despite the challenges, what was most important was ensuring that the building was constructed right the first time. And here's what the new facility will house.
Well, we have our executive account area, we have our operations department, we have a bunkering and lightering division, we have a trucking and warehouse team, the logistics team, we have our disbursement accounts team, and then we have our executive area upstairs. So, and then once we already set up our freight forwarding division, Bahama Customs will actually be stationed from our building. We'll just have to put the request into the government, so we'll have an officer station here. Goods will come in here bonded to be transshipped to other areas, and therefore Customs will have to be here to make sure they protect the facility.
And the company is already eyeing future projects.
Some of the services that we'll be providing is just not stuff that's been done before. So we're not going to target the market that already exists, but we're going to actually create new markets from this location.
30 persons are currently a part of the Elnett team, but an additional 15 to 20 persons, once new projects come on stream, are expected to be hired. Deshaun Smith, general manager of Spartan Construction Company, is proud of the workmanship at the site.
Definitely felt proud, an honor to be able to be a part of it, an honor to see somebody at his age, what he's doing with his company, what he's doing for the community, the island, and definitely respect him as a business person, somebody that I get a lot of advice from. We have a lot of late night talks well into the morning. In high school, we used to actually have a lot of conversation about our respective industries. So while he was out there at the harbor, I was actually in the field in construction. So definitely, if anybody could appreciate the journey that he's had with Elnett, it's definitely me.
Final touches are expected to be completed in the next few weeks, and an opening ceremony will take place at a later date. In other news, we are well into the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season, and the Grand Bahama Health Services say they are in full preparation mode. You may recall that the hospital was decimated following Hurricane Dorian and was repaired only recently recommissioned in April. Administrator Sharon Williams says they have reviewed all of the health facilities on the island and is satisfied that they are in a far better position this time around.
We have had our hurricane preparedness meeting with our corporate office, with our managers, and also we have already had meeting with the Grand Bahama local committee. We are definitely making sure that we fortify our services to meet the needs of any. And I wouldn't say any, because certainly Dorian was a surprise, but as much as possible we're being prepared for anything that passes our way.
Now, she adds that checks have been made to ensure that critical infrastructure at the Rand Memorial Hospital are fully functional.
We're making sure that all of our generators are functional. We have our water supply, as you would have known, we would have improved with our local donors and our international donors, the water systems for our hospital, for the 8 Mile Rock Clinic, as well as the clinics in the east end and west end of the island.
While officials maintain that preparedness remains key in mitigating any pending disaster, residents are being advised to have a plan in place and purchase the necessary supplies before it is too late. Jamila Mizik visited the various hardware stores to see if residents are indeed shopping early.
It is better to be prepared than sorry. That's the message officials stress to residents every year ahead of the Atlantic hurricane season. Well, our ZNS News team visited a few hardware stores on the island, and they say they are well equipped to meet the demands of their customers and help them prepare this hurricane season.
We're very prepared. We've had product rolling in continuously. Supply and demand has been a little bit of a challenge recently. vendors are giving us a heads up on availability on certain goods, and scarcity has become a main factor. But for the most part, we've been getting steady supplies in, and we are as prepared as possible. We have everything you could possibly need to kind of, be prepared from inside the home, from batteries, flashlights, lanterns, generators. All of those goods are very well stocked, and they're available now. So I would suggest coming in, having a look, and starting collecting those things now.
Dolly Madison is prepared for the hurricane season. In fact, if you notice when you came in here, there is a sign on the billboard that tells you that the hurricane supplies are in store. So we do have all of the basic hurricane supplies for our customers, and we're ready for the hurricane season.
Third Dimension is very prepared. We're getting some more solar panel fans. We have batteries, flashlights, plywoods, and everything that you would need, generators, everything that you would need to prepare for before the storm and even after for the recovery process, should it come.
Now, they say that in recent years, they have seen an increase in residents coming out and shopping early, which sends a good message that more and more Bahamians are not taking these storms lightly.
I think it's fair to say that we've kind of learned from past experiences that it certainly does, is better for us to be prepared early. So we have absolutely seen persons taking it more seriously, coming in a lot earlier and starting to prepare ahead of time. That would be absolutely one of the cautions to take, is that, things are moving very, very fluidly. And obviously we've learned from the past that it definitely is something that you don't want to take for granted. You want to prepare ahead of time. So starting to think about things that need to be done around the house to secure the home, supplies that are needed, you want to start kind of investigating all of those goods as soon as possible.
Persons have been shopping from the beginning of the year, picking up little bits and pieces, water storage containers, gas storage containers, picking up their little candle mattresses and what's not. They have been getting their little gas canisters for the portable stoves and what's not. So I think the Bahamian public and our residents in Grand Bahama on the whole are very conscientious about the devastation that we could experience during the storm, and so they've been well prepared.
It's very important to shop early, simply because you don't have to go through the long lines and, all the cluster with customers bombarding stores trying to get last-minute supplies. So once you come in advance, you could get your stuff and you could sit back and just wait upon perhaps the storm arrival, should it come.
Jamila Missick, ZNS Network News.
Stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment.